Hello, I'm Bob Havery in St. John's Church, and this is the next in our series on New Perspectives on Favorite Hymns. The stirring music you just heard was the first phrase of Martin Luther's great hymn, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." It's a hymn that's associated with the celebration of Reformation Sunday, this last Sunday in October, that is celebrated primarily by the Lutheran Church, but also by many other Protestant churches. We'll also be listening to Bach's great fantasy on this hymn, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." You know, many years ago, Bach was on the front page, on the cover of Time magazine with the caption, "Bach, the Fifth Evangelist." You know, the evangelists were the writers of the gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The point of the article was that just as those evangelists expressed and described their understanding of Christ in their writing, Bach expresses his understanding of Christ in his music. How does he do this? He uses what had at the time been a time-honored tradition of tone painting, that is, music or tones that describe something through their sound. And he will express some interesting and very basic ideas about his faith in God through his music. Now, I have to admit that the first idea from this came to me many years ago from the rector of St. John's, a wonderful guy named Mike Kendall. We had some discussions about this particular organ piece. Michael knew the music, and out of our discussions, we eventually wound up collaborating on a sermon one Sunday morning. So a lot of the ideas that I'm be telling you today actually originated with Mike. So let me play the hymn itself for you so you might recognize more of what we're talking about. This is "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." Now, in Bach's organ composition on this piece, he is going to take some certain ideas from the hymn itself, and he can't express everything. He's going to give us the takeaways from the hymn, from the text of the hymn. What are the takeaways of this hymn? God is a mighty fortress. Though the world be filled with devils, God will be victorious in the end. Now, of course, the hymn takes 4 verses to get all of that out, but Bach gives us this condensed version of it and really gives us the important elements of the hymn itself. So let's take a look at what we find in the music. If you look just at what's happening musically in the piece, you find that there are these sharp contrasts, these ideas that are different enough so they even seem to conflict with each other. Kind of a battle between ideas that go along. At the start of the organ piece, Bach gives us what will become a teaser of the melody. We hear the tune itself, but it seems to wander off into something else, like there's something blocking it. And now we're going to come to a more complete version of it, but it's more insistent. Notice that Bach is going to slow it down, make it firmer, and it's very clearly stated at first. course, Bach is going to decorate that a little bit, and he's going to add some extra notes, but you can actually hear the notes of the melody in his version of it. And Bach being Bach, he's going to add some counterpoint to it. Wait a minute, what just happened? We've got something very different, don't we? In place of this very firm, we've got this kind of wiggly melody that's going in here. And he makes it even more wiggly by using what are called chromatic half steps. All right, so big terms, right? Chromatic because they're not in the regular key, the notes that fit into the melody itself. All of the notes of the melody fit into that scale. So, but instead of going, he goes, and so he's pulling us out of the key, and we've got this sharp contrast between the firmness of the melody and this faster but kind of melody that draws it down. Notice how it decreases, it goes down. Down in pitch. And to make that even more clear, he's going to put together these two ideas now. The firmness of the melody and his counter melody, this wiggly little tune. As we go forward in the piece, to set up more of a sense of this competition, Bach is going to divide the hands onto two different keyboards. It's one of the few places where he actually designates the keyboard on which the organist is to play the music. And we get this idea that becomes a competition of the two hands, each trying to rise higher than the other. Notice how as we go through this, the left hand will try to go higher than the right hand higher than the left. They're competing with each other. And then as we go forward with this competition, what happens is in the melody, we get the tune in very bold notes. That melody of a mighty fortress is our God, the melody that tells us God is a mighty fortress, against this competition going on in the keyboards. Bach seems to return to this melody all the time to ground us in the strength of God. But about halfway through the piece, we come to an impasse. The struggle seems to be at its height, and he's going to go back to those chromatic half steps. Remember from this time, they appear down here in the pedal. They get stuck. You know, there's something going on here where we can't move on. Right after that, we really start moving towards the climax of the piece. And Bach introduces it with a fanfare. And at this point, the fanfare goes on, and that melody, the Mighty Fortress melody, soars above the texture. And we'll hear another section where all of the music seems to pull us down, 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 and down. But this is probably the mighty fortress of God consigning the devil back down into hell. And if there's any doubt, he gives us these very bold lines at the very ending, all of which go from fairly high on the keyboard, all the way down to the bottom of the keyboard. And he ends on that strong unison D. There's something primal. There's something saying this is the truth. This is the end. God has consigned the devil back down into hell. So here is Bach's great fantasy on Martin Luther's A Mighty Fortress is Our God.